Hello, everybody. I've always wanted to use that opening line from Mike and the Mad Dog, WFAN. Chris Russo would start the show every day that way. And with the cooperation of Norfolk Community TV, I'm here today to give my final report to the good people of the town of Norfolk. 15 years plus. It's been a great ride. And certainly there's been a lot of things that have happened over the 15 years. And I wanted to share a few stories with you before giving the Queen's Wave on Friday. You know, one of the first things that happened in 2004, arriving here in Norfolk, the New York Yankees, in the midst of the American League Championship Series against the Boston Red Sox. Well, the Yankees were up 3-0. I just started here shortly after arriving, and I'm watching the game with the staff on duty. And lo and behold, in Game 4, the Red Sox came back and they won. And I turned to the people in the room that day and I said, you know what? The New York Yankees are going to lose 3 games in a row. The Red Sox will go on to the World Series and they will break the curse. Watch this. Lo and behold, I'm certainly the prophet. So, because I was the prophet, once the Red Sox won the World Series, the Board of Selectmen during that fall were gracious enough to charge me by order to drive the World Series trophy amongst the community of Norfolk with the fire truck. Well, I wouldn't get back at Norfolk's leaders until 2009 when the Yankees finally won the next championship. But certainly I can always say David Tyree, and certainly people understand that. One of the other things that happened the first year we were here is the fire department each year runs the annual senior dinner at Christmas time. We're setting up for that particular dinner, and lo and behold, the caterer never arrived. So the membership scurried, and with the help of numerous community assets from Roach Brothers to Stop and Shop to Market Basket, everyone pitched in, and we were able to cobble together a dinner that, as the Sun Chronicle published that year, stated that few knew that there was a problem in the kitchen. Certainly a memory, a very warm memory that I'll take with me. One of the other things that happened very quickly coming here, and if anyone needs to blame people for my arrival in Norfolk in 2004, I'll give you 3 names. Joyce Terrio, Ramesh Advani, and God rest his soul, Jack McFeely, who would later become known as the godfather of ALS in Norfolk. Well, they gave me 2 charges. One charge was to bring ALS to the community of Norfolk, advance life support with paramedics, and also to build a fire station. I can tell you that in 2005, we actually brought paramedics operational in Norfolk, and that was through the cooperation of you, the citizenry here, including, God rest her soul, Dr. Helen Cleary, who stood up at town meeting that year and advocated strongly that we bring paramedicine to Norfolk. And that was after a very lengthy meeting in the selectman's office that day, because Dr. Cleary felt that she had information indicating that we didn't need paramedics. And we were fortunate enough to have representatives from the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, the Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, and some of the educators that provide training for paramedics here in the Massachusetts area. And they were able to provide a presentation to Dr. Cleary, and her words were at the end of the meeting, she said, "Cole, I think a great deal of you, that you took the time to bring these people here just to meet with me, and you will have my support tonight at town meeting." God bless you, Dr. Cleary. Some paramedics come to Norfolk, able to do 60 pre-hospital care administrations of care in the field and administer 30 types of medications. I can't tell you the number of people that the dedicated men and women who serve as paramedics or served as paramedics here in Norfolk, the number of people that they've saved, or the people that the outcomes have been much different as they arrive at the hospital. To the men and women in Norfolk's fire department who serve as paramedics, stand up, pat yourself on the back. You've done a great job. So talk a little bit about some of the things that happened here. We underwent a tragedy in July of 2010, the fire at the village at River's Edge. For an hour and 37 minutes, over 112 firefighters attempted to rescue Billy Nichols from the explosion site. He was removed. He was alive at the time and unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. But that day showed that a fifth alarm assignment could be put together quickly and that the assets could be drawn to Norfolk, a small community of Norfolk, to do what was right. During that day, we saved 4 people. And certainly in the case of the deceased, we were able to at least get him to the hospital where he succumbed, unfortunately. So let's talk a little bit just more about River's Edge. There were some lighthearted moments. One of the mutual aid companies that responded on that fifth alarm arrived in Norfolk, and Norfolk had just put the roundabouts in a short time prior to that. The mutual aid company arrived and made it through the first roundabout, got to the second roundabout, turned right, took Main Street, ended up in Walpole, and had to stop a passing civilian to ask, how do we get to River's Edge in Norfolk? And they had to be turned around and finally made it to the scene. Interesting enough, that particular company, and I'll reveal them now, it's Mansfield Fire. Deputy Chief Jimmy Pulio was the chief leading the engine company. They were involved in the final rescue of Billy Nichols that day. So, as we move along through the period of time, one of the things that we ended up doing here in Norfolk is we were part of the structural task force for Norfolk County, responding to major emergencies throughout the Commonwealth. On June 5th of 2011, we responded with 6 other engine companies, 2 ladder companies, 4 other fire chiefs, and a field comm unit to Brimfield during the EF3 tornado, which originated in Springfield and ended just outside of Sturbridge. Hair-raising night. I can vividly recall going down the Mass Pike, unable to see your hand in front of your face, wind howling, rain with raindrops as big as golf balls, very dark. We exited in Sturbridge and headed in towards Brimfield, and once we got off the highway, everything went black. We came across a burned out vehicle with power lines down. We were immediately stopped by civilians, and the members of that task force rescued a person trapped in a basement. We made our way to the command post in the center of Brimfield and spent the entire 24 hours working alongside a number of fire agencies. People who were assigned with us made several rescues of other people trapped in basements. It was certainly a time that I will never forget, and the grateful nature of those people that we served. The Norfolk people, the Norfolk firefighters, were so touched by their involvement in Brimfield that day, made a decision, because Community Day was canceled due to bad weather and we were left with the food stocks from that cancellation, made a determination that we wanted to return to Brimfield. And through working with their Board of Selectmen, we returned on June 18th. We brought an engine and we brought a number of people. We brought some town dignitaries. Jack Hathaway was with us. And we provided a cookout to the town of Brimfield. The Brimfield Board of Selectmen were present and said that it was probably one of the largest gatherings of citizenry that they can recall in the community. We were on their very lovely green in the center. We cooked all day, had a chance to talk to a number of people, and particularly touched by one woman who came to us and said she knew she was going to be okay after the night, because when she woke up, there was a Norfolk fire engine parked at her driveway. Very touching indeed. 160-mile-an-hour wind came through Brimfield. We encountered trees in piles 20 feet high, and we had to make our way through there to get to homes for rescues. Quite a night. Fast forward to September 16th, 2018 of last year. The Merrimack Valley gas explosions. Who would ever think that the Norfolk Fire Department would be responding to the city of Lawrence to provide aid? Once again, Task Force 4B was mobilized. We responded into Lawrence, and we ran with Lawrence Ladder 5 out of the Broad Street Station, an old station that actually had horses that were used back in the day to provide fire protection for the city. We ran a number of gas odor calls in the community, and early in the afternoon, we were called upon with the other members of our task force to respond to a third alarm fire in a condominium complex. It was a very severe fire, and every member of our task force, the 6 engine companies and 2 ladder companies, all went to work at this fire. Norfolk pumped a hydrant out on the street. We were on what's called Diamond Street. We pumped that hydrant for over an hour, and we supplied water to Franklin's Tower Ladder. Our engine company crew actually worked inside the building with Lawrence Engine Company 4. And standing in the front yard with Chief Brian Moriarty of Lawrence, an individual I got a chance to really know and talk with, a splendid individual, and certainly a department that stretched to the limit, provide admirable service to their community. We heard the call from Engine 4 reporting a firefighter down. The engine company made that report twice. And before the second report was made, Chief Moriarty, in his coat and helmet only, dashed through the front door of the condominium complex and assisted a firefighter out. And as they were coming out, I recognized that looks like one of our members, Deputy Chief Peter Petruchik. And as he came out, I realized that it was the deputy. He had fallen through the second floor into the first floor. He was injured pretty badly. Broke his shoulder. He would be out of work for 6 months. Required some very inventive surgery at Mass General Hospital. He's since recovered and he is back to work. But it gives you the idea of what a firefighter faces on a daily basis. We responded to that city. We provided the assistance that they required, and we continued working that day. But it just gives you a complete idea of the dangers faced every day. As a sidebar to that, so that you know how Norfolk operates, we train a great deal here, and a lot of that goes to the deputy chief who coordinates this training. When we have our self-contained breathing apparatus analyzed each year by a contractor, they laugh and they say that our breathing apparatus is as banged up as the city of Worcester. And it's not that it's not being maintained or taken care of properly, it's the usage. And in Norfolk, your firefighters train in live fire situations at least once a year, if not twice. And when a building is donated for such training, the firefighters participate in at least what would probably be, on a regular basis, at least 6 multiple alarm fires during that period. So they're exceptionally well trained in fire suppression. Some of the things that I'll also remember is with the cooperation of town government here. We replaced, since I've been here, 2 engines. We replaced 2 squads that are utilized by the shift officers. We have a replacement schedule for our ambulances every 4 years. An ambulance is replaced, it's placed in back line, and the back line ambulance is put out to surplus. We refurbished our ladder truck, which is vintage 1990. We refurbished our tank truck, which is vintage 1980, and we've continued their use. We've been able, through a number of federal grants, again, coordinate through Deputy Chief Petruchik, we've been able to get all new breathing apparatus. We have a new compressor for filling the breathing apparatus. And because now cancer has become such a bane of today's fire service, we also have equipment for extracting all the toxins from our firefighting gear, and also a dryer so the gear can be placed back into service. A lot of things I'll miss: the camaraderie of the station, working with the people, working with the community. One of the things that I have to say is I am exceptionally proud to be part of the culture in Norfolk and to be identified with the culture of Norfolk that comes to work every day and does their job. While some in Norfolk might indicate that I represent part of the culture that needs to be changed, to them I say, tough luck. I leave Norfolk not with misgiving. I leave here with a great deal of sadness of having had the opportunity to work my dream job. I was here a number of weekends and holidays providing service. I can tell you that one of the things that we've done here in Norfolk is family members who are having the worst day of their life and their loved ones being transported to the hospital. I can tell you that a number of times I've been able to transport those family members to the hospital, which could be very well their last moments with their loved ones. That's something very special that can be done in a small community. And it's the fabric of the community which is so important, and hopefully the fabric that can be passed along to the next fire chief. In closing, I need to thank Jack Hathaway, his great friend, and a great leader here in Norfolk. Jim Lehan, good grief, Jim Lehan. I've always said people either love him or hate him. I loved him. He was a great friend, and a tremendous supporter of the Norfolk Fire Department. And of course, Pete Petruchik, our deputy chief. Without the work of Pete Petruchik, I can tell you that everything I talked about in the last few minutes could never have been accomplished. So, with that being said, in the words of General Douglas MacArthur, as he addressed the West Point cadets at graduation in his final appearance at West Point, and he said, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away. Old fire chiefs never die. We simply fade away." Thank you, and God bless all of you.